Hey everyone, we're going to start with probability tables today. We're going to look at if it's a probability table, how to find the mean of it, the standard deviation, the maximum and minimum usual value as well. So to start off, we're going to look to see if this is even a probability table. And the way you're going to do that is I just go underneath it and you find the sum of those values. So find the sum, and I'm doing that by holding down the shift and using my arrow keys. So the answer is 1. The sum is 1. So therefore, yes, it is a probability table because the sum of the probabilities is 1. So the next part of it is we're going to find the mean, and I provided you the equation for the mean. However, you just need to know what it means. We don't have to actually use that equation. So the first part of it, if we look on the inside of the summation, it's x times p of x. So basically just your x value times the probability. So I'm just going to label this, so x times p of x. And then all you're going to do is you're going to do equals, and you're going to do x times p of x. And there you go. And then we're going to try this week. Phil? Nope. One more time. Formulas, auto sum. Nope. Okay, so just do it for each of them. So 1 time, I'll just do the boxes, times p of x, times p of x, times p of x, times, got ahead of myself, times p of x times p of x. Okay, and then to find the mean, all you have to do is take the sum of them. So sum of these values, and there's your mean. So you'll round it off to one more decimal than you're given. So all of them have 4 decimals. So you want this at 5, and I need to make the decimal longer. I think it's in this one. No. In one of them. Increase the decimal by 1, so it's just that. So 1.4501 is the mean. So the standard deviation, you're supposed to take the x value minus the mean. So if we're looking at our equation, that symbol there is the mean. It's the same symbol that you see right here, times p of x. So the first thing we're going to do is take the x minus the mean. So I'm just going to write x minus mean in this column. And then you're actually going to square that as well. If I get rid of my, click out of here. If I get rid of that, you can see that it's in parentheses and that it's being squared. So I'm going to go ahead and just square it right away rather than waiting. So x minus, caps lock on. Second. Okay, so we're going to do equals x, and I'm going to put these in parentheses. So x minus the mean, and I have the mean in this box right here, to the second, equals, and you're going to do parentheses x minus the mean, keep it in parentheses, squared. And you're going to do that for each of them. So just make sure, like, I'm keeping them in parentheses so that way it knows to do the subtraction of your x value minus the mean before you square it, because you're wanting to square that entire value. And don't forget that you need the equal sign first, or it's not going to do anything. It'll just come up as a straight line of text. Oop. X minus the mean squared. Okay, So the next thing that it's doing is it's this value of the x minus the mean squared times p of x. So I'm gonna, don't want it that big. There we go. So this is gonna be, I'm just gonna write D1 because that's the cell that we're using. This is D1. So it'll be D1 times P of X. Alright, so from there you're going to do equals D1 times P of X. And then you'll do this one times P of X. And you're just going to do it for each of them. So the column of D1 times the P of X value that lines up with it. Nope. Two more times that, and last one. All right, and then the last part of it is the summation. So you take the sum, don't forget your equal sign, and you're gonna take the sum of this column here. And there you go, that's the variance. So remember that when we learned about all of this, we learned that this symbol here is the standard deviation, but standard deviation is equal to the variance squared. So to find standard deviation, we would need to square root the variance. That doesn't need to be there. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to come down here to the standard deviation section. Oh, maybe if it decides to let me. Whew, I need to disconnect my pen. Alright, so I'm going to come down here to the standard deviation section. I'm going to do equals that summation that we found. I'm going to square root it. So SQRT is the abbreviation for square root in Excel. Take the square root, and that would be my standard deviation. So to find your maximum and minimum usual value, so I gave you again the equation. So it's just the mean plus or minus, plus being the maximum, minus being the minimum, to theta, and theta is standard deviation. So remember, mu is mean, and theta is standard deviation. Alright, so if we do our maximum, it's going to be equals the mean, so we already have our mean put someplace, plus 2 times the standard deviation. Just hit enter, and that's the maximum usual value. You're going to do the same thing except minus for the minimum. Equals the mean minus 2 times standard deviation. There we go. And that's the minimum usual value. So that's how you work with probability tables, and those are what the different meanings of the equations are and how to look at the equation and then make a chart for Excel. And now if I was to have more values or less values, I could kind of manipulate this chart and just solve, and I wouldn't have to like completely re-input all of